audiences and revenue with premium content. And you'll hear what 3 newspapers, I hope, are doing and what they're doing to implement the content initiatives across multiple digital platforms, including online tablets and mobile devices. You'll learn how their strategies can build a profitable online business model by leveraging the value of our content in multiple ways, the ways that readers want it delivered, and how this new content is driving new advertising revenues from small newspapers to large newspapers. Our panelists are 3. And you notice there's all empty chairs up here, and that's because I'm going to introduce them and they will come forward. Our first panelist is John McKeon. He joined the Dallas Morning News in 2007 as president, but he hails from California. Before joining the Morning News, he served as president and CEO of the Los Angeles Newspaper Group. He earlier served as general manager and president of Newsday and the Los Angeles Times. He served as president of sales and marketing at Knight Ridder. He was recently named to the A.H. Belo Management Committee, and he'll play a key role in implementation and refinement of the strategy that it'll take, and they'll be using his 30 years of experience. He's a baseball fan, and he loves California. Please come forward. He's going to speak to us. He has to catch a plane, so he'll give you the presentation, we'll ask questions, and then he'll be gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's going to be interesting because I'm going to start off actually on a presentation which deals with a consumer value approach that we've taken at the Dallas Morning News. And before we get into the digital applications of it, I really wanted to take you back a little and give you a little background on our strategy here. We found that in 2008, the traditional newspaper model, that model that required 80% of our ad revenue, 80% of our revenues to come from advertising, 20% to come from circulation, was basically broken. The ad environment was pretty desperate at that point in time, and actually over the next couple of years got even harsher. And if we were going to continue to maintain the kind of commitment to the quality of the content, the very core of the product that we produce, we knew we couldn't depend on ad revenue to do that. And so we'd have to turn more to our consumers, to the actual readers, to continue to pay an increasing amount in order to maintain that kind of quality in the newspaper, both in terms of quality and in terms of content. So what we did, we went into the field and we started to do some research. We really wanted to understand what the relationship or the elasticity of demand was for our product at various price levels. We analyzed that, but we were also very interested in finding out what was the major drivers of elasticity within our product. And then also, based on that information, and it's pretty obvious, you can't expect people to pay more if you're going to be cutting stuff out of the paper. If you're taking things away from them, it would be disastrous to try to raise price. So this really reaffirmed our commitment to maintain and improve the quality and the quantity of the content in our papers. Well, then we started to take some action. And I started off here back in 2008 because, not unlike many papers, we introduced new subscribers into our family through pretty heavy discounts. We'd offer a 50% discount for a period of time, could be 3 months, could be 6 months. And then we'd go through a process of trying to raise them up to the full rate. Obviously, what this caused is a lot of churn. We'd lose a lot of people, and so you'd begin the cycle again. So what we determined before we started to take pricing, we would need to dramatically decrease our use of discounts. In fact, I will tell you, this has gone to a point where today we actually charge new subscribers more to come aboard than our current subscribers are enjoying as a rate. We've flipped that model completely on its head. But we began that process back in 2008. And then in May of 2008, we began our pricing actions. We're at $18 in May for a 7-day monthly subscription. We went to $19. And normally, that would have been it. We would have been at least a year away from any other pricing action after that. But in November of that year, we went a second pricing action from 19 to 21. Now, quick history on this. I tell you one lesson learned. Don't do 2 pricing actions. Do 1. And for obvious reasons. You give people 2 chances to make a decision, and they will make that decision. Now, you can also see that what the action we took the following year in May, while we did take one pricing action, it was the most dramatic we've taken. We went from $21 to $30, 43% increase in rate. And if you think about the time frame, from May of 2008, we were $18 for a 7-day subscriber. By May of 2009, we were $30. A $12 increase on an $18 rate, about a 2/3 price increase. And then in January of this year, we took our prices up another 13.3%. Well, you can expect what would happen from something like this, and it did. And frankly, it fell right in line with the research we had done in terms of the numbers and the impact. When I look at our September 2007 publisher statement, we were at 373,000 copies daily. By September of 2010, that same publisher statement, which had the majority of those price increases rolled through it, we were at 264,000, a 29% decline over that 3-year period of time. Now, that's dramatic, significant impact. But if you go back and you look at our peer set, major metropolitan newspapers throughout the top 10 markets in the U.S., you'll find that that's not dramatically different from what most major newspapers have been facing, without necessarily those kind of price increases. But more dramatic was what it was able to do to our circulation revenue. We went from $68 million in full year 2007 to just over $92 million in 2010, a 35% increase. That kind of support from our readers and commitment confirmed what we felt about the, frankly, inelastic demand for our paper among a core cohort of readers, and enabled us to avoid removing the kind of content both in our pages and the people from our newsroom. Now, obviously, with the kind of decline we saw in circulation, we were able to save money because it rolled through all of our expenses. So from newsprint to press runs to packaging to distribution, we had significant savings based on that decline in circulation. But what's the next obvious question you're going to ask me? What about advertising? What impact did that have? Even though you might not have been that far out of the norm for declines in circulation during this period, even though you gained significant circulation revenue, and that enabled you to maintain your commitment to the kind of content and quality that you deliver for your readers, what happened to your advertising revenue? Well, we knew we were taking this path, and so we had prepared for it. We knew there were certain advertisers out there in the marketplace that still wanted the volume that we offered as a traditional major metro newspaper. And so in August of 2008, as we were rolling through these initial price increases, we launched a product called Briefing. Now, Briefing, as it's indicated by its name, is a condensed version of the Dallas Morning News. Generally ranges from 12 to 24 pages a day, an issue. We did research in the field, analyzed who would be most attracted to a product like this, and no surprise here, former Dallas Morning News subscribers, generally a bit younger, generally 2 wage earners in the household, generally young children in the home, meaning prime advertiser audiences. So we also asked them, what days of the week would you be interested in having this product? Obviously, we had some interest from an advertising standpoint, but more importantly, we wanted to know what their interest was. It turns out that they're so busy in their lives, that's one of the reasons they don't take the core paper. They don't need the paper on Monday and Tuesday. But by Wednesday, they'd been educated, they'd learned, that was food day. And they wanted those circulars. And they were catching up on their week at that point in time. They wanted Thursday, they wanted Friday, they wanted Saturday, because they had small children. They wanted to plan for the weekend. They wanted to think about the things they were going to do the rest of the week. Interestingly, they didn't want Sunday. You have a fine Sunday paper out there. If and when we want it, we can get it. So with that type of research, with the targeting to that type of audience, with the advertiser zip codes that we knew were important, we went out and we launched a 200,000 circulation, 4-day-a-week newspaper. They also told us, by the way, because we were thinking about sections, we were thinking about a tab, we were thinking about sections to differentiate content. They told us, you know what, too busy. Can't be bigger than, and here's the interesting reference point they used, the A section of the Dallas Morning News. They knew the newspaper. Everybody in Dallas knows the newspaper. Some people choose not to take it. This was now an alternative for them. So we launched Briefing. It was an opt-out product at first. We had to put the mass out there to get the impact for advertisers. Since this point in time, and we're into it about 2.5 years now, 50,000 people. We were very aggressive. We allowed them to opt out at any point. We didn't force it on anyone. 50,000 of the original 200,000 have raised their hands and said, thanks very much, but no thanks. Don't deliver it to me anymore. We've been able to replace every one of those 50,000 with opt-ins. We promoted the product, people saw it, and they took advantage of it. They raised their hands and they wanted it, and we've delivered it to them. And in fact, we're at a point now where this summer, we will verify the willingness and the desire of all 200,000 people to get the product. So it's completely an opt-in product at this point in time. But that wasn't enough. We wanted to make sure our advertisers were comfortable with it. So we also went out, and from day one, it's been ABC audited. One important point I want to make, we do an ABC audit, obviously, for a paid paper. It's what's called a field audit. That means people, ABC auditors, go out into the field, knock on doors, call people up, and say, you do get the Dallas Morning News, right? And they answer right. We do that same type of audit for briefing. We think if we have to do that, and we need to do for our advertisers that type of audit for a paid product, we better do that type of audit for a free product. And so that's the type of auditing we've done from the beginning. ABC is actually in our offices right now, and this year we're also doing ABC's preprint audit, which is both the process of ordering preprints, the delivery of the preprints, the packaging, and the final delivery to the home. Briefing and Al Dia, our Spanish language papers, will be part of that preprint audit. And we also measured readership from the Scarborough syndicated study. All of this meant to obviously make our advertisers comfortable with the quality of what we were committing to them. From a content standpoint, we have unfettered access to all the resources of the Dallas Morning News, but there are 6 people dedicated to this product 4 days a week that produce a unique editing and presentation of the product. And if you see it, it's shorter stories, obviously, if it's only 12 to 24 pages, more maps, more color, all things that we found attractive in the research to this audience that, for whatever reason, wasn't taking the Dallas Morning News. Well, what's next? So you did that, you raised price, you took a hit on the circulation numbers, you replaced it with some niche publications out there to gain that type of audience. But the principle that we established there was that in order to ask consumers for more, you have to be willing to give them more. And so it was natural for us with that philosophy when earlier this year we relaunched our .com site, we relaunched our iPhone application, we redid our e-edition, and for the first time on January 18th, we launched an iPad edition to basically take the same tack. You'll remember in the previous chart, pointed out we took our rates up in January. January 18th, we launched all these products. As a new paid subscriber to the Dallas Morning News at $33.95, you got access, unfettered access to all the content on these platforms. You can still get a free version, just like you can get briefing free, but it's a condensed version of the Dallas Morning News. You can get still some free content on all of these platforms, but not our unique journalism, not the stuff done by our journalists, not the perspective and the context that they bring to it. We're asking you, if you want that kind of content, you have to have a subscription relationship with us. You have to pay for it. And that's what we launched on the 18th. On the 18th of January, we launched these products. We did a pretty aggressive marketing campaign. We gave people a 6-week window where you could try. We wanted them to try it. We wanted to see if they liked it. And on March 8th, we began the relationship where you could no longer get unfettered access. We call it Ds. If you go on our site, you'll notice small Ds in a blue circle. That indicates that we feel that content is specific only to our paid subscribers. That's the only way we can afford to generate that kind of content. If you tap on those stories and you're not a subscriber, you will get the headline, you will get the first 50 words, but you won't get more than that. If you want unfettered access, you have to be a subscriber. And so on March 8th, we began a new experiment, the next generation of the Dallas Morning News, as we refer to it at. If you're interested in the pricing, I mentioned to you 7-day TDMN, Dallas Morning News, print pricing is $33.95. That includes also access to those 4 digital platforms and all the content we produce on them. Our Sunday-only paper monthly is $16.95, and again, you get access, unfettered access to all our digital platforms. 5-day pricing, that's a Wednesday through Sunday buy, is $29.95, and again, you get all our digital platforms. And interestingly here, you'll notice Briefing and Al Dia. They're free products, but in order to cast this net broadly and to identify people as subscribers to Briefing and Al Dia, we offered access to DallasNews.com. We've gotten some interesting responses to that. And if you think about it, part of this strategy is we not only want to identify you as a consumer of one of our print products, know where your home is, know statistics about that area, home values, and all those good kind of things. We also want to know what digital products you're using. So from an advertising standpoint, think about the value that's created when not only do I deliver something to your home physically, but I also know that you have an iPad app. And I know you come to it 4 times a week. And I know what type of stories you read in it. And I know probably what kind of advertising you're interested in. And play that out over our iPhone, over our .com site, and over the e-edition. It's an interesting future presentation and surrounding of that customer with a specific advertiser's message. And in fact, that's how we're packaging it right now. But you don't have to get a digital package. I'm sorry, you don't have to get a print package. You can get a digital package. You can get all 4 of these platforms for $16.95 a month. You'll notice something there. The $16.95 for all the digital packages matches the $16.95 rate for our Sunday product where you get the digital package. That's intentional. We want to invite people in and say, if you want a digital package, that's fine, you can have it, but we could also offer you the Sunday paper if you'd like. If there's one day of paper that you might be interested in locally in our market, even though you're buying a digital package, it's probably Sunday. So we intentionally made those numbers the same. Each of the other platforms individually, tablet, .com, iPhone, Dallas News, the e-edition of Dallas News, are all $9.99 each. So that pricing structure obviously encourages access to all, but you could pay the $16.95 and only access 2 or 3. You don't have to access all 4 of our various editions. What was the goal of all this? I mentioned the promotional campaign we did. We really wanted trial. We wanted to get as many people out there trying these products, because if they don't like the products, it doesn't matter what our strategies are. If they don't value them, how do people value things? Well, they use them frequently. So we're trying to use each of the platforms to reinforce the other, to bring people back to those platforms again and again. If we can't bring them back again and again, we doubt we can build habit. And if we can't build habit, you probably don't value it as a consumer. And why do we need you to value it as a consumer? Well, if the advertising is going to be effective, you have to value it as a consumer. And if I'm going to be able to raise price on you in the future, you have to be able to value it as a consumer. We think of this kind of as a cable model now. You're paying a basic fee for your cable exposure to DallasNews.com products. In the future, we'll break out some more individually, probably have different kinds of packages, but this was the starting point where we went and the goals that we had. So all of it was focused around building value for the consumer, because we felt that would gain us the ability to price in the future and put us in a better position with our advertising customers in delivering for them. I'll also give you some, we haven't released a lot of information on this. We have a couple of thousand people who have actually purchased independent digital packages. We're about 6 weeks into this experiment. We have just over 2,000 people who have purchased various combinations of digital packages. And that's great. Somebody asked me, well, wow, how does that rate against what you expected? To be honest with you, that wasn't our major focus. Our major focus was how many current print subscribers can we get to authenticate their subscription because they want those digital packages. And I'm happy to tell you that over 40,000 people in 6 weeks, current subscribers to Dallas Morning News, have gone online or gone to their iPad or gone on their smartphone and authenticated the fact that they want that content there. And we know it now. We know where they live. We deliver them a paper. And now we're gaining information and insight into what interests they have on our other digital platforms. So that's basically the story we have here. I'm going to ask my able assistant here to come up and, so I don't screw up the technology, play a commercial. I mentioned we had a promotional campaign. We went pretty heavy in the market. This was one of the TV commercials we ran. There were outdoor components. There were in-paper components to it. But we knew we had to put some money behind it.
The first choice for in-depth local coverage now comes in 4 choices. Introducing the next generation of the Dallas Morning News. Download our new apps at dallasnews.com.
So that was the commercials we ran. You can see the goal there. We're still local. We want you, the first choice has now become 4 choices. So far, so good. We're happy and pleased with the results. It really, I don't think of it as a digital strategy. I think of it as an extension of our core value statement to the customers, and it was only natural to extend that strategy onto the digital platforms. Probably not right for everybody, but right now, right for us, and we're pleased with the early results. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
So I can buy a subscription on my iPad, and if that's the case, you got this fight with Apple over that.
You know, I can't speak for other people. We were very fortunate, I think, that we partnered with the New York Times and their press engine. And actually, I had early discussions with my counterpart there to say, if you're developing an app, have you thought about leasing it? And so because of that relationship, New York Times folks were very good at introducing us to the folks at Apple. I figured they had a better in than we had. And so we were able to communicate with Apple, indicate what we were going to do, and they've been really great about it. So right now, if you want to buy iPad only, they're not interested in the bundle, frankly, and they're not interested in anything that includes print, which really makes me very happy. Because, honest, I don't want to share 30% of $33.95. But if somebody's on their iPad and is going to do a $10 offer monthly to buy our iPad app, I'm happy to share a percentage of that with Apple at this point. Most of them, interestingly, so far, and again, we're very early in this, so anything you hear here is very preliminary. Most of the people who are subscribing, even to an iPad app, are coming through our own site at dallasnews.com. So we've had good experience with that.
And just one follow-up.
Can you go to the mic?
My most frequent exposure to the Dallas Morning News is on Twitter. So is there any, have you been thinking about trying to monetize that?
Good question. We are talking about, from a social media standpoint, both Facebook and Twitter. Many of our journalists are on there almost independently. We've had some discussions about, you know, what do we allow to be, journalists can go on and post their story. What's our decisions about that now that we're charging people for it? So we are having those discussions with our newsroom at this point in time. We made a decision that if I'm a paid subscriber, I should be able to share that story with anyone. But it's just that story. So, you know, could somebody go out there and start sharing 5 and 6 and 8 and 12 stories a day? I guess they could. But we have the ability to track it. And if that happens, we'll probably put the kibosh on it. You know, you have to worry about the search engines. Right now, search engines aren't real thrilled with us about sending people if you can't get total access to the story. Well, for those of you, and I think most in the room are probably associated one way or the other with AP. AP's done with their tracking capability now some interesting stuff that you might want to go back to AP and ask them to present to you about how many people actually go to a headline, whether on Google or Yahoo or whatever, and actually click through to the story on your site. I think we'd all be surprised at how small the percentage of that total is, and so the whole pitch about, you know, Web 2.0, put your headlines up here, information wants to be free, and you'll get benefit because we'll send people back to your site. Yeah, about 0.1%, maybe. Now, another interesting point, I'm probably not Google's favorite person, but they'll get over it. You can't scrape. Google says you should be able to scrape every site for content. You know what you can't scrape? Google News page. So I think if it's good for them, it's good for us. So you can't scrape us anymore. Other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wait a minute. They told me I had something for you, but I don't quite see it. So I'll give it to you in a few. Beg your pardon? Oh, he already has it. Is that what you're saying? When I go home, my kids are going to think I'm the coolest person around because I am learning so much as we are here. Our next panelist is Roger Coover. He began his newspaper career in 1973, and he began it at the Nevada Journal, and that's located in Iowa. His career took him from Iowa to Colorado, Georgia, Florida, over to Stockton, California. He served as publisher in Nevada, Iowa, Georgia, and Florida. And in 1997, He accepted his current position at the Record. His son is sitting with him. His son says he is a really cool dad. And I checked with some of his other people that work for him. I think it's Deetra Conley, and you may have seen her here. She says he is the best boss you ever want to meet. So with that, we'll bring up Roger Coover.
Thank you. How many people have iPads? If you make decisions for a newspaper company and you don't have one, the very first thing you need to do this weekend is go buy one. And you ought to have, whether it's a Droid or an iPhone or something, because you need to know how the world is moving and where they're moving to, how they're going to use news and apps, and finding out what Microsoft is doing. They just launched an app, Bing search engine on the iPad. However, there's also news pages, world news, national news, entertainment, anything you want. It's interactive, so they've got you touching it to play with it. They're going to hook you into it. I'm going to try to show you why it's absolutely crazy to not be taking money off the table that's there today. I'm going to show you trend lines that hopefully will help move you to the fact to understand that digital is going to be a strong part of your future, and you just as well start getting revenue from it today. Now, I lost my bet because there was a $20 bill on the table back there, and somebody took it off. I thought I was going to be able to say, nobody took that money off the table. So did anybody in the room get it? You get to keep it. Nobody's going to make it. It probably was the help. And they were cleaning up thinking it was a tip. I'm going to tell you, you're all, if you're not already charging for your online content, you're leaving money on the table. And I'm going to tell you how much we are taking off the table right now. We started our website, let me get to my presentation, 15 months ago. Wrong presentation. Well, I have lots of presentations, but not mine, so you want to come up? CNPA something. Okay. Right there. Helps you put your glasses on, too. Go ahead and go to slideshow. Okay, this is a phrase Rupert coined about a year and a half ago. Was free cost too much? And I'll tell you, it was 2 years ago that I was saying we need to start charging for our content. And it took us about 8 months to get the technology up in place, to get running. We've done a lot of things probably wrong, but I'll tell you, we're making a lot more money. And there was a lot less hassle from our customers than we ever expected. How much longer do you think your print customers will pay for something when you're giving it away free every day? One of the defining moments for me in this decision was I had senior citizen print readers, been reading us for years, who are dropping their subscriptions and saying, I prefer it in print, but I'm learning how to read it online because I can save the $200 a year. When my core reader, who'd been with me for years, was telling me that, I said, I've got to change the value proposition. What do you think would happen if Starbucks started saying, well, bring your own cup, I'll give you free coffee every day? Or better yet, like we do, we'll bring that coffee to your house every morning because we don't want you to be bothered with having to come pick it up. They're not going to stay in business, and neither will you. My goal here is for you to not leave money on the table that you can be having right now because we're in a very significant transitional period. I don't know what the answer is going to be 5 years out. But I can tell you, I'm looking for every revenue source I can find today to help me survive through this period until we know where the future will be. Our circulation department delivers 27 publications. It's a new revenue source. I'll do some commercial printing. But I also said, why am I giving away this content? Here are the main reasons. Print circulation was declining. Loyal subscribers, I just mentioned, were moving to the free. Page views far exceeded what we could sell locally. We were putting in a lot of remnant advertising at $1 CPM. I said, even if I lost 50% of my page views, I'm not going to lose any real ad revenue. Online ad rates, as I said, dropping. Online ad revenue was way too low to pay the true cost of the newsroom. Even if I get rid of print and distribution costs, how am I going to pay for my newsroom? And I still wanted to say professional content has value versus what a blogger or somebody in their bedroom late at night was putting on the web. How do we differentiate ourselves? One is to say there's value to it. So we started this 15 months ago. There's a lot of bottom line people. I'm a bottom line person. Today we have 330 online-only subscribers. Half of those are in my market. They want to save trees. They prefer it on digital. I don't care the reason. They're paying more than print subscribers for this online edition. We have 29,000 registered users. I'll explain later why they have to register. Of our PIA customers, 50% of them pay an additional fee to have online access. We don't allow print subscribers free access to our web. Easy Pay customers, 80% of them are paying an extra fee. Actually, the PIA customers who receive a bill and pay their renewal, 80% of them are paying the higher rate. It's the new subscribers and the people who are dropping off that we have to resell and bring them back in. We've got to take them at a lower price for print only to save them, and that's what brings us down to 50%. But even after this, we anticipated we could lose 50% of our unique visitors and 50% of our page views. Instead, we lost 25% of our visitors and 35% of our page views. As of this year, after 12 months, we're now starting to cycle some growth again. Obviously, the first 12 months, we lost pretty much month after month, 35% versus the prior year. When people were surveyed and they were reading your newspaper website online, how did they answer the survey? What are they doing? They said, I'm reading the newspaper. For them, they weren't thinking about paper, they're thinking about content. In today's time-starved world, fewer and fewer people come to our papers for enjoyment. Somebody asked in the prior session, how does Angry Birds make money? How does somebody, well, my son instructed me earlier, younger people pay for fun. A lot of older people pay for fun. I paid the $4.95 to get Angry Birds so I could play it. They used a freemium model, and we will get into that. That's what we've used. Research from Pew Research. 50% of readers go to TV right now for news, not readers, of the public go to TV for news. 46% say they go online at least 3 times a week for news. Only 40% say they go to newspapers 3 times a week or more. Now, if you say how many people go to the newspaper once a week, once a month, whatever, we can say 75%. But how many are coming regularly? That number is declining. More research. Of newspaper subscribers, this is somebody already getting the paper at home. They also have an iPad. What percentage of them do you think said that they are going to switch to a digital edition in the next 6 months, or they'll drop the paper? Anybody want to guess?
70%.
Fortunately, not quite that high, but I was shocked. 54% said that they now would prefer a digital edition. What about ad revenue? 2009 to 2010. This was the change in ad revenue from the worst year of 2009 to last year of 10. Every medium grew, really, except newspapers. Let's take another chart. The bottom 3 on this are all print. Projecting out 5 years, 4 more years, it's showing negatives every single year. Fortunately, Yellow Pages are worse than us, but we're in the negatives. Other forms of media are going up and showing some growth. Looking again, last year was the first year that the internet produced more advertising dollars than newspapers. And if you look out at 2015, it's more than double. It's projected to be more than double what newspapers will bring in ad revenue. Obviously, my mind is saying, how am I going to be a player in 2015 where most of the money is? Based on what we're currently doing, the line that you see here is the percentage or share of the digital pie that newspapers are going to have into the future. Continue to go down, showing us kind of plodding along pretty steady while everybody else is growing revenue. Some good news, people with iPads, some with iPhones are saying, if it's content that I value, 99 cents is okay. I'll pay 99 cents a week to see new data. They're not going to pay 99 cents a week for the same thing. You know, you're going to buy a song you want to pay one time because you listen to the same song, but if you'll refresh that content, people are starting to say 99 cents is not real money. Here's the Angry Birds model. Freemium. Just give me enough free to entice me in, to get me hooked, and then try to upsell me to premium content, premium versions. Angry Birds will sell you sites to tell you how to win. You can pay an extra $1 and you get this thing that goes through and automatically wins a site. I mean, one of the pages for you. If you can't beat this one, pay $1 and it'll beat it for you. So they got ways to get you. We built our model the same way. We only protect our local content. Most of the sites you've been hearing about, or newspapers you've heard about recently, are using this similar model. You can call it a fence model, a permeable model. Probably 60% of the content on our website is free. It's open. Anybody can see it. No walls, no barriers. Our vertical contents are free. Calendars, some of the local content from users, they can see it. Some things, though, we decided nobody should get it unless you're paying. Text alerts, email newsletters, e-edition. If you want to comment on stories, you have to be at least a registered user or you're not allowed to comment on a story. We give 3 articles per month absolutely free. Flybys out of Google or somewhere, they can see 1 story a month, 2 stories, no problem. You can see 10 articles a month if you'll register. Just give us an email address and a zip code. We want to know where you're from. And if you want unlimited access, you're going to have to pay. Value is in the content, not in the distribution method. So here's our pricing model. And I will tell you, we're part of the Dow Jones Local Media Group. Each one of our papers launched with a different pricing model. And this May, we're going to talk about what we believe is the best pricing model and which one all of us should go to. But in Stockton, our print-only price is $199. These are the full price areas, and yes, we do discount introductory rates. Online only is $219. Print and online together is $239. There's an important caveat here. We raised the price of our Easy Pay customers for print only at the same time we launched this. We got rid of some of the discounts we had for print subscribers at the same time we did this. But when we sent the notices to people for Easy Pay, we said, your new rate goes from $11 every 4 weeks to $13. But if you don't want online access, and we told them, oh, it includes online and all this stuff that you get. If you don't want online, call us. We'll back you down to the new print price of $12. We still got an extra $1 out of them. And the numbers that I'll give you later, they don't include the extra money we're getting out of print. I'm going to tell you just the online dollars. So 80% of the people are paying that $13 every 4 weeks. 20% of the people called in and said, I don't have a computer. Why would I want this? Why are you doing it? And we backed them down to 12, but we still got an increase out of them. Giving them some flexibility. And the print-only person, if they said, I've been a loyal customer, why are you making me pay $40 extra? I said, go to Easy Pay. You can get it cheaper and get online. Here's the pricing models for all our papers. Excuse me. You can see that Cape Cod, their model is $30 less for online than print. Medford, Oregon increased the price of the print subscription and said it includes online. The rest of us put some kind of an additional fee, whether it be for online or for the combination. Thank you. I will tell you, my guess is that the Cape Cod model will end up, or something close to it, where online is slightly cheaper than print. With print and online combination, I'm sure in my market it'll be at least $20 higher. You need to keep it simple. We offer three options. You can get all access, print and online. It includes the e-edition. It includes the website. You can get home delivery only, or you can get online only. But we try very hard to not give too many choices to the customer. Some examples of our free content, our homepage. And I'll tell you, one of the things I wanted to do, and we didn't do because we didn't have the time and resources, we wanted to launch quickly, I wanted to add local content. I wanted to add connections to local bloggers. I wanted to redesign the website. We didn't do any of that. We didn't make a single change to our website when we launched all this. I still think we should have. We should have done something to say you get a little extra, but I'm telling you, even not making a single change on here, the only people that really complain to us are the people who never paid us a cent in the past. Your customers who pay for your content now understand. They might not always like it, and a few will complain. You'll have to smooth over a few of them. But they understand the need to pay for journalists and why we're charging. Local news, they can see the headline and 2 lines of content before we would measure what they're seeing. But if they want local news and they go past 3 articles, they hit this roadblock. Give us your name, your email address, your zip code. If they hit 10 stories, we'll get another block just like this, but it'll ask them to subscribe. Every 30 days, that resets. The results are better than we had expected. Again, only 25% loss of uniques, 35% in page views. Paid users now are more local than the general users we used to have. So most of the people we lost were some of the flybys, the people outside the general market, people who've moved away that wanted to read content about their hometown. Now they have to pay if they want to see it, and so we've lost some of that. So we're able to tell local advertisers, people who are paying for this content and access are more interested in your local content. Opt-out is better than opt-in. It costs you a lot of money to try to get people and do the marketing to get people to opt in. We tried it in another market. In my market, we did opt-out. We assumed the buy. PIA customers, we gave them the bill, and here's your new rate. It includes online, but then a note underneath it, it says, if you don't want online, you're welcome to pay this lower price. Again, 80% never probably even read it, just paid the higher amount. And the print impact, what's happened with subscriptions, I don't know, because we've made so many changes in pricing and structure. We wanted to be able to see, did it have a direct impact? I can tell you for the first year it didn't feel like it because circulation was still going down. I can tell you since about November to December, our circulation has been pretty flat. In the last 3 months, small number, maybe 50 subscriptions a month, we're starting to grow. It's still taking work. It's still trying to sell subscriptions wherever we can. We're worked very hard to reduce churn, to reduce the deep discounting we were doing in a lot of areas, but we are starting to grow circulation. A few other papers have launched the same model. Columbia, Missouri did it recently. The publisher said it's been 100% positive. His other comment was it generated him enough revenue to pay all the costs of setting it up, provide some extra staffing to handle it and take care of it. The Augusta Chronicle used a metered model where they offered, I don't know, 20 or 30 stories for free before they paid. Because of the marketing they did with it, they actually increased their viewership and page views. And so they now have already tightened down their model a little bit. Said, hey, we don't need more. We can go ahead and tighten it up. I am going to tell you, to me, that's something that we all should have done a long time ago. If you haven't done it, in the first 12 months in Stockton, I brought in $400,000 worth of additional revenue, just in the online portion. We're about 37,000 daily, 41,000 Sunday, so we're a mid-sized paper. That's 400,000 that allowed me to keep additional staff, that allowed me to not have to make as deep. I'm sure we made cuts like everybody, but not as deep, and make some of our goals. There's money on the table that we need to be trying to take. We're now in the middle of working very hard to say what's our future with tablets, with mobile phones. We already know that 12% of the page views on recordnet.com are from either mobile phones or tablets. We have a mobile site, but it's just a little text, and it's clunky. It's just real basic. There's no advertising on it. So we need to improve that. In 5 years, though, Burrell says 65% of all digital revenue, they estimate, will be mobile. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe overstated, but I do know it says mobile revenue is going to increase. Current focus, we should have been on daily deals a year ago. Some of our leadership on the digital side said it doesn't work for medium-sized markets, not enough revenue in it. And 6 months later, he said, oh, I made a mistake, we should have been there. So we're ramping that up to get ready for that. We're also going to launch a digital agency business. And this is being done in a few markets. Right now, I think Nashville and St. Louis are doing it. For the small and medium-sized business, they need help with digital. We're not going to actually do all the work for search engine optimization or marketing or reputation management or whatever, but we're going to sell those services as bundles. So that the local person says, here's somebody you can trust. We're going to be around a long time. We'll take care of this for you. You got any complaints, you come to us, and we'll take our cut. We'll mark up what we sell. We'll be launching that fairly soon as well. The App Edition, that fortunately we're part of Dow Jones. So whenever we get in line to utilize some of their technology and apps, we will be doing that. And then we're also deciding to stop chasing verticals we've already lost. We've already lost the auto business. People don't come to our local sites to search autos. They go to AutoTrader, to Cars.com, or others. And so we're going to quit trying to put technology into it or money into it and move away from it. What do I recommend you do? Identify your slice of the media universe. Each market's different. You have to look at your competition and what do you have of value nobody else has. Figure out why people keep coming back to your website, what's the content they're interested in, and provide a service. People will tend to not buy just content unless they really want it. The Wall Street Journal is a good example of content people wanted, they're willing to pay for it in any form. But they'll pay also for a service. So take a look at that. Experiment and analyze. Experiment some more, take some risk, but just do something so that you're moving forward instead of sitting still. And the final thing is to make sure you continue to market constantly. You've got to continue to tell people, you know, your paper's been there 100 years. It may hopefully not take 100 years to tell them you're in the digital business. But if you don't tell them, they're not going to know. Back to the bottom line, here's our numbers. I hope everybody in our business, you know, Marty Weber's here. We're on competing markets side by side. But I hope he finds ways to generate revenue any way he can, because I don't want him to go out of business. I want other companies to stay out. You know, I want others to not have avenues in because we're doing such a good job in our own markets. And so we need to all work together and hopefully move forward in this arena. You want questions now or after?
If you would like, you can sit up front, or you can. Our chairs are kind of lonely up here. I'd like to, at this time, our next speaker has arrived, and his name is Jeff Herr. He's the Vice President of Digital for California Newspaper Partnership, where he works with 37 daily newspapers to implement new strategies and to grow audience and revenue. His team at CNPA provides centralized product development, ad operations, and digital sales work. Prior to joining the CNPA team, Herr was the Director of Interactive Media with Lee Enterprises, driving forward digital strategies with 53 daily newspaper sites across the country. He joined Lee in 2006, following his work as the Director of Digital for Tucson newspapers. Jeff Herr, would you please come forward? Thank you. And welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Spent a quality hour on the tarmac in San Jose this afternoon, plane trouble, so I'm glad to be here, and it's good to see some friends and familiar faces. So I'm going to plug in, and while I am, you know, Roger outlined some interesting scenarios that they've discovered in Stockton and other markets around the paid model. And as those of you who know me in the room can attest, I'm a pretty self-centered guy. So I'm hoping that today we walk through a few different scenarios for getting paid for our content, so maybe you can help me find a better path forward, because we're in the midst of making a choice for a bunch of our markets. And the choices haven't gotten that much more interesting than they were a year ago. And yet there's opportunity out there, and we're going to be experimenting with a few and hope to discover that there's an alternative or two yet that we have yet to find. And it takes me back too, also to you know, CompuServe launched in 1969. That was a paid content model. Fast forward to when I was working in Seattle, my peers in the cubes next to me at ESPN.com were making bank on fantasy leagues and paid premium content channels. And then when I was at TheStreet.com, we figured out how to exploit Jim Cramer's character, his persona, his insight, his mania, and sell premium content access to Jim's postings throughout the day. So, you know, there's certainly models that work. Many of them emerge along the way. I'm hoping that maybe as we go through a few of these obvious scenarios, it'll stimulate a conversation afterwards so that we can kind of bring out some of the new ideas that maybe you're exploring in your markets today or have seen in other areas. And apologies here. There it is. So as Roger pointed out, and as we've been hearing from our friends in Dallas, a lot of thoughts going into this entire category of how do we get paid for our content in ways that don't undermine our digital growth. We have very ambitious revenue goals, as Steve and others can attest. 40% year-over-year digital revenue growth. That's the bar that we have to clear this year. And it seems counterintuitive to put up a wall that prevents people from consuming our ad inventory and from going through our site to the depth that we need to start getting the registrations. And yet we go forward because at this point we've done some modeling and found that in fact there is a path forward. You know, the past 12 months, just we see it all over the market. We see all these different experiments going into effect and learning from each other. And at the end of the day, it's really still, you know, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of clear, you know, just abject fear in the eyes of some of our publishers as they prepare to shut down the bulk of their digital audience. At least that's the perception. So we'll spend a few minutes here with the three channels or the approaches that we've been working on. The first is forget about it. We're not going to do it. We're going to stay free. We're going to stay open. We're going to try to make money off of banners. And when I do the math, I don't see how you get 40% growth from banners. So that's a tough one. Maybe on the big metro sites it's just too dangerous. We'll talk about that a little bit. Put the paywall up in front of everything. Homepage, yeah, you can get to that. Anything beyond that except the classified verticals, you're going to pay on first visit. And then the third is to pray and hope that the tablets will deliver us to salvation. And we have a very exciting experiment going on. We had 3 days of focus groups on a local, hyperlocal media play for the tablet application. We got to the Apple Store last week, got some excellent feedback from them, and we pulled it back out. The feedback that they had was spot on. It's how to better monetize a tablet through initial exposure to consumer for a one-time payment, to monthly payments, and then to have consumers be able to earn out their subscription by writing reviews of restaurants or contributing to a story with photos and videos. So we are pushing forward on all three of these avenues, and at this point really don't have a clear sense for what the right answer is, and that's because of one simple thing. There isn't one right answer. There's a mix of answers. Each market has different requirements, opportunities. And when we think about, you know, our paper in San Jose, the San Jose Mercury News, it's so tempting for everybody involved to say, we can make it, we just keep pushing, we keep adding ad units to the page, we keep pushing up our CPMs, even though they're going down, and somehow, some way we'll get there. Well, this is certainly one option, and especially with the big metros, it's a terrifying concept. So, you know, taking a look at this option, maybe in a few of the bigger metros, but certainly for the rest of the newspapers we work with across CNP, it's a little different scenario. And in this case, it may be what we call the Iron Curtain, and that is, as I mentioned a moment ago, especially for smaller sites, just that absolute paywall. And here's a look at some of the numbers. You can't read it maybe as well as I'd like, but using some of the numbers, these are even more conservative numbers than Rogers experienced in their market, but assuming a 40% reduction in traffic, and of those that remain, you get 1% to subscribe at $5.99 a month, and still assuming you're going to get a $1 CPM average for each ad unit on the page, you know, there's a net positive impact from that scenario with a paywall in place of, you know, and this is an aggregation of news sites, you know, a fairly significant upside. You know, the converse to this is, well, we'll just keep selling, we'll push CPMs up, and so we can't suspend disbelief anymore, especially on smaller sites. So you go all the way down to scenario 7, where you assume 80% loss with a 1% take rate, and you see that that's a net loss for the organization by putting up the paywall, because you lose the traffic and you don't get as many people subscribing to the paid online edition. So by doing this math, we're starting to triangulate and find out which markets make more sense to be behind the paywall, which ones do we leave out there because of other strategic priorities and blind hope or faith. And then the third is to, you know, hope that the tablets are going to save us. And in fact, we think there's an important new opportunity here. This is a new platform. It is a new genie in the bottle. And we're going to be very careful this time to make sure that when we develop apps and take them to market, and we have dozens of them in the market now, that we do it in an intelligent way, that we get them out there targeting the right audiences, establishing value for that through our marketing, and then securing that on a monthly subscription model. As I mentioned a minute ago, the tablet app that we had in focus groups this week, you can earn out your subscription. Yeah, it's $4.99 a month, but write some reviews, post some comments, share some media, and that comes down and in fact can become net positive in points that you can redeem for other things. So we're looking for different mechanics, game theory, if you will, to incent people to behave the way that we like them to behave to help sustain this business model. And the way that works, we think, this is all speculative, is that, you know, if we can get several thousand subscribers, we see the opportunity to break into a net positive within 6 months. This is 14 people working on the app, feeding it with content, selling it as a direct sales force outside of the news organization's sales force, the newspaper organization's sales force. So this too is a scenario that we think may be part of the mix of answers. And as I said earlier, I'm pretty self-serving in this in some ways. I'd really like to hear if there are other pay strategies that you've been using or have seen that you think might be alternatives to this. And Frank, feel free to kick some good ideas in here. Because we're trying to find alternatives, because none of these are perfect. None of these are really getting us excited, and yet, for lack of alternatives, we go forward. And this is the year that we have to make these choices. There are opportunities to lock it down and to get paid for our valuable content. So with that, I'd love to throw it open for folks to put forward some of the things they're seeing in the market.
Okay. Let's give a hand clap to Mr. Herr. Thank you for joining us. I think you have a mic right there. And we're going to throw this open for question and answers. We've seen and we've heard 3 approaches to this issue. And I can remember when Roger, back in Monterey, our conference at Monterey, and he brought up this whole idea about this paywall and about people are going to have to pay. I'm sorry, excuse me. That people are going to have to pay for content. He brought up this whole idea, and some people walked away and they said, do you think that he has it right, or do you think that we'll lose? People were talking about it. And to see it fast forward to now and to see what he's done with it is very, very remarkable. So I'm glad that you stuck to your guns and made it happen. Let's throw it open for question and answers at this time. Anyone who would like to speak, please go to the mic and identify yourself, and let's have a conversation.
For Jeff, is this on?
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it. Could you check?
Looking for a switch. Somebody knows this mic, let me know.
There's a young man in the
He's
back, and he's
fixing it in the
trying to
back.
fix it for you.
Talk into it again, Marty. Try it again.
Test 1, 2.
Yeah,
1, 2,
it's
3.
on.
Yeah, okay. Marty Weber at Lodi News Sentinel. Jeff, just very quickly, I'm not familiar with the California Newspaper Partnership. What is that? Will you explain yourself a little bit?
Sure, happy to. I've been with them since September, and it's been a period of incredible discovery. It's a joint venture. It's run by and managed by Media News Group. It includes papers from Gannett and other publishers, all working, Stevens, of course, all working underneath, under the CNP team to bring forward efficiencies in markets through shared content, sales strategies, and so we manage the operations of those newspapers. LA Newspaper Group, Bay Area Newspaper Group, and then NorCal Group up north.
Thank you. Questions? Anyone else? Everyone knows everything now. Do you have a question for your dad? Oh, okay.
No.
What do you use for metering, and what are you using for metering?
Well, I'll tell you to call my technology people.
Use a vendor.
They use cookies and whatever technology Wall Street Journal is. There are ways around it. You're a good technology person, and you can figure your ways through it. Majority of the people don't. But I'll also tell you, we have a lot of people paying for access that don't register an access.
Next. It's on.
Hi, John Race from the AP.
Sure.
And find out that I'm a fellow street alum. The hyperlocal model sounds fascinating. Can you walk through that a little bit? Walk through the business model of it?
Sure. And of course, this is fully untested, but so we see three main revenue strategies. One is the paid subscription. Second is enhanced business listings and other assets we put around local businesses that we surface on the map. And then the third is banner inventory, traditional banner inventory. Although with the tablet, we're doing it much differently. It's much more of a high touch, very significant placement on the tablet for each ad, but there are very few of them, so we're going for high impact.
Is this, are you hooked up or partnered with one of the, say the Mercury or one of your others, so the CCT? Is it independent of that? Is it part of the, how's that cross stuff work?
Well, I'd encourage you all to come visit us at the San Jose Mercury News building because it's fascinating. We brought in a small startup that I came across in the San Jose area that develops this kind of functionality. They're using us as the ultimate guinea pig because they live, eat, and sleep with us. Basically, we're 24/7 together in the same building. They've got 8 people, so they're building out the platform. And its ability, and by allowing consumers to go in and start interacting with content, providing that content into the news organization through this app, we believe it can also help the core news team back in the San Jose Mercury News building. But it is a Bay Area-wide initiative. We don't know what the name of it will be, how it will be branded.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I could ask a lot more questions. It's fascinating.
Marty?
Well, Roger, thank you for sharing, and you know that I'm taking careful notes. On your slide, you had this statistic that I didn't understand. Print/online all access subscribers, 50%. 50% of what?
That 50% of our PIA customers, paid in advance subscribers, are paying the additional fee for online access.
Thanks very much. Duly
But
noted.
that doesn't include Easy Pay. 80% of the Easy Pay people just went ahead. We sent them a letter and said your rate goes up $2 per every 4 weeks. If you don't want online, let us know and we'll cut your rate back $1. And only 20% of the people contacted us over a year to say, I want to save that buck.
I'm confused. This 50% number doesn't then refer to registered users. It's just people who have paid the extra price. They may or may not have availed themselves of the online.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I do know we have a good percentage of print subscribers paying the additional fee who have never registered. And if you're a print subscriber and you only go look at local stories 10 times a month, you're never going to reach that wall that says you ought to register, or if you've paid for it, we will register you as an all-access customer. They'll have never come to that need because they can see events, they can see the headlines, they can see state news. One of the controversies we had before we launched was obits. People pay us a lot of money to post an obit that's behind our subscription model. It counts. And so they said, well, I paid this and now my person in Timbuktu can't see it. Well, they can. They can see it 3 times for free, 10 times if they just give us their name and email address.
Next.
Cheryl Dell, Sacramento Bee. Roger, you said that commenters had to register at 10, right? And I'm wondering if you've seen any change in the kind of commenting that you're getting or in the amount of commenting that you're getting since you went to that process.
Yeah, dramatic decrease in the amount of comments and almost total elimination of the vitriol, the people trying to stir up trouble. In fact, it's interesting, one of the things that our online editor said, she used to be getting the calls all the time from that group complaining about, why did you take my comment off? Why are you, editing my work? We didn't edit work, but we just would ban them from the site. They would re-register with another name. Now her calls all are from these registered users or print subscribers who are now saying, this little piece is broken, can you fix it? Or I wish the site was better in this way. It's people who seem to care about the content and the site instead of people who just want to fuss at us.
Nils Jensen from the Press Enterprise. You've described how you have a number of people who are paying but haven't authenticated their online. What are you doing? Obviously, there's a lot of print preservation here. What are you doing to grow your online audience? Are you also talking about additional products of any kind or specific online marketing?
We try to do online marketing all the time, both in print, tied to stories, to refer them to online content. We add video. We sometimes in stories will say, see the full documents behind this story online. So we do try to drive people online. We market through our own products. We are not marketing with billboards or other media because we've been cutting our marketing budgets and we're using that specifically to go after print subscribers. As I said, we aren't doing everything right. Our site, we were the first one to go into a new design model of our group, which means we're now the oldest. We've been about 5 years on the same design. I keep begging for a redesign and some new functionality, improved user interactivity. They keep saying soon, soon.
Next.
Hi, Roger. I have a couple questions. Ed Lasek from the Press Enterprise. First of all, just want to make sure I'm following the P. You said $400,000 for 4 months. Can you extrapolate that into being $1.2 million a year? Is that what we're talking about?
No.
Okay.
The $400,000 was across 12 months.
Okay.
And that was for everybody paying additional fees for either the Easy Pay customer paying $13 a year more, the PIA customer pays $40 a year more, the online-only customer paying the full price. And we, at the same time, by the way, we dropped our mail subscriptions. And so we just got out of that business. We picked up about 50% of those 330 are in the market, 50% are outside our market.
I don't know if I caught it or not, but what happened to your paid circulation during this time?
Same thing that happened to yours.
Okay. So,
but it had been declining.
Let me ask you this then. What did you do to pick up the preprint revenue?
Oh, we started a Sunday Select, same thing Dallas did. It launched in January with 11,000 distribution in the target zip codes for the advertisers. That's been very successful. You have to spend money. It costs us about $90,000 to make it a legitimate opt-in. Getting signed cards, we put them in just like a subscriber, so that if somebody subscribes to the paper, they automatically stop their Yes subscription, so that there's never a duplication. But that's how we supplemented it.
One final question. I'm not that familiar with your market. What kind of competition do you have in covering news in your area?
We consider ourselves a countywide newspaper, so we have 3 community papers that surround us, Marty's being one of them. In Stockton, other publications may randomly pick up our content and rerun it or run something about it, but mostly local news is from television. The Sacramento television stations cover us, the radio. There's very little print competition for Stockton news, but there is for all the surrounding communities. But like the Riverside market, we deliver 27 products, Chinese newspapers, Korean newspapers, financial newspapers, anything that's in the market except the other locals, we're delivering them.
Well, thank you. Well, I have to stop
Could
for
I
the
get one
president. The president, yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. This is a question for Jeff. You're there in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
You know, you've got Apple. You talked about working with the people at Apple on apps. You've got Google there as well. Both Apple and Google have now just recently said, we're going to offer newspaper subscriptions in our online stores. Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask if you've talked with the people at Apple or the people at Google about how they're going to do that, about ways to make it better for newspapers, and what kind of reception you've had.
We have not had formal conversations about getting into these new stores to deliver our publications.
Uh-huh.
I'll add one more to the list, by the way. Our partners over at Yahoo have now deployed a hyper-local, online-only publishing initiative around the Bay Area. They're testing 6 markets there and another 12 outside of the Bay Area. So we have a lot of people coming in to either take our products to market or take our market with our products. And so it's been an exciting time in the Bay Area.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure you have other questions, and if you do, you can see our panelists as we leave today. But I would like to thank each panelist, and I have gifts for you. I don't know what's in these silver cases, but you know everyone has had one.
I'll let Roger open it first then.
Every speaker has had one.
I don't hear
and
any
I remember
coins.
last night somebody opened and said, "Oh, I like this." So it must be nice. Two, yes, yes. So now you have to learn
Perfect.
to cook, right, or barbecue. Right.
This is my check to luggage.
That's fun.
Our next session, this is the end of the day's sessions, but our next session will be at 6 p.m., and it will be in the Los Angeles room. It will feature a silent auction, and if you haven't seen our silent auction, you must go. Dinner is at 7, and it's at the Pacific Ballroom, and we will be visited by a man from history, Mark Twain. And we will also have some other activities that you will enjoy, and I think I'm not supposed to announce those, but he's not in here. Jack Bates festivities, and we hope to see everyone there. Thank you for attending this session, and I hope that you got as much out of it as I did. Thank you.